We should move on because the other big manager story is that Ange and Spurs. Now, before the Celtic fans get too worried, Spurs have literally been linked with every available top quality manager in world football over the last 4 months, and not a single one of them has bitten beyond having conversations and thinking, well, this doesn't really sound like a good deal. It feels like there are a lot of strings attached and the baggage seems to be weighing everybody in the room down, literally and metaphorically. And so, yet, there's enough here where it feels like there's no smoke without fire, that Ange's camp seem to be allowing this to happen, that the interest is bubbling up. Perhaps Ange is using this as a means to provoke the Celtic owner to back the club with more money and more ambition. I mean, they do have one of the best, I don't know, he seems like a very, very, very good manager, and to lose him now would seem like carelessness.
Sorry, go on, Kathleen.
I was going to say, as much as like Spurs have been linked with every manager, Ange has also been linked with every single job that's come up, and most of them it's kind of just because of the success he's had with Celtic, whereas this feels like the first time there's actually like proper reports that he's in talks with Spurs, which makes me think that there's a bit more to it than possibly other.
Like, which they were linked with Roberto De Zerbi, they were linked with Marco Silva, they were linked with Arne Slot, who, of course, last week said he's staying with Feyenoord.
Well, so
Luis Enrique.
If you follow the train through, though, they were linked with Nagelsmann, and they continued to be linked with him until it emerged that he didn't want to go, or that talks had broken down. With Slot, he was linked for ages, and there was no denial for ages until he said he was staying where he was. Apparently, the money was incorrect, or something. The transfer fee that Feyenoord wanted was shocked Spurs. With this, there's been a slight bubble up, but there's been no report yet from Celtic saying that's not going to happen. Celtic are bracing themselves for an official approach to come after the cup final. Like, the approach would only come if Spurs feel like, if they've been given comfort somewhere along the way by an advisor or something, that if you do that now, I think that might make sense.
Yeah, the reports in the papers today seem to be that they're not going to approach him until after Celtic play Inverness Cali Thistle in that cup final on Saturday. But I mean, you'd imagine they'll have...
That's not... I don't...
No. They'll have open negotiations before then.
It's lying season.
Yeah, of course. Everyone's lying. But if you're Ange, I really, really hope he doesn't do this. Don't do this, Ange, if you're watching. I mean, you said it this morning, Kathleen, it has the stench of Potter to Chelsea of it, where eventually, a few months in, he's going to regret and go, I had a good thing. I had such a good thing at Celtic. Could have waited another 6 months, maybe a year, won another treble up in Scotland, and then moved on. Like, his star is not going to go down in Scotland, let's be honest. Like, it's going to stay either where it is or go higher. So
I think everyone expects him to move on at some stage and get, a decent job, but I just don't know what going to Spurs with this current team, what he's going to be able to do. And like, to be fair, maybe he'll go in and he'll be the first person to actually talk Daniel Levy around and build the team that he wants in the same way he's done with Celtic, and we could all be eating our words in a year's time. But it's the sort of club where you don't have control in the same way that if you go to Chelsea you don't have control because of the looming large of a character like Daniel Levy. And whoever does go in there either needs to be very, very certain in themselves and able to stand up for themselves. And I kind of feel like maybe you need a bit more of a... Portfolio is wrong, because like obviously Ange has achieved quite a bit so far, but I just feel like you need a bit more European success and a bit more of that sort of backing to be able to go into Spurs and actually achieve what you want to achieve.
I do think the Spurs job is a good job, personally. I think that because of the stadium and the match day income, which we keep hearing about, the playing squad, the way the playing squad at Man United was so, this is horrific, no one could ever make this work, and then all of a sudden a grown-up comes in the room and things improve immediately. So some of those players who were playing badly this year for Spurs under Ange could actually play well. His style of football is going to get Spurs fans on board straight away. Like, if you're Ange and you know that there's the strong likelihood that Harry Kane's going to leave, do you convince him to stay for one season and score another 30 goals, and then you've got Kane and Son playing Ange ball? I don't know. I think like How many opportunities is Ange going to get? Like, what other top 6, top 8 clubs in England are there? There's the City job, right? Which, you know, he has been part of the Manchester City. What do you call it? What are all the millions of clubs that they own? So they do know him, and they are aware of Ange's characteristics as a manager, and so it's not beyond the bounds possibility that he gets talked about as a potential City boss. It's unlikely, though. It feels like it's unlikely that they would take somebody from Celtic to take over from Guardiola. I don't know. Well, but after that, the Liverpool job, maybe he's a candidate for the Liverpool job?
Liverpool fits his mould better. Like, so Ange's positives, he unbelievable in transfers, knowledge of the Japanese market, clearly, with the players he's brought into Celtic. His man management, apparently he fist bumps all the colleagues, one of these usual stories every morning coming into the training ground. Everybody likes him. Tactical nous as well. But then you look at his European record, it's very poor. The quality of football in Scotland, let's be honest, it doesn't lead us much in terms of it doesn't tell us where he's at as a manager, and there are other negatives.
No sign of guaranteed success in like the Premier League.
There's not, and there's also he specifically asked not to have a director of football at Celtic because he doesn't like working under someone. Daniel Levy, I mean, the shadow of Daniel Levy over him is not something Ange wants. I don't see any truth to that. Could be a red face now next week when he signs the contract in Tottenham. But
if you're in Camp Ange, right, what job are you waiting for? What mythical job in the future are you waiting for?
Well,
the Man United job's not coming available. No. The Liverpool job is unlikely to come available. It might do, you know. Klopp might burn out, and maybe at the end of next season, Pep might win the Champions League and decide there's no more Everest for me to climb, and I'm stinking rich, and you know, there's the potential for us to be a championship club for a season. Unlikely, but it's a possibility. So those three, unlikely. After that, who are you looking at? The Chelsea job, just signed Pochettino to a 3-year deal. More than likely he sees out 2 of those years. More than likely. After that, Arsenal, not going to happen. So the Spurs job might be the best available job in England over the next 3 seasons.
Yeah. Like the advice, you just wait, don't you? Like if you're
for what though?
For a better job than this.
What's the better job?
Well, maybe say the Liverpool job comes up.
Come on, I've just listed every club in world football there, Shane.
Say 6 to 12 months, Liverpool job comes up. Ange does not develop young players, by the way. Like Celtic have an unbelievable academy, and
do they have an unbelievable academy? Well, they have a lot of players who are very hyped.
Yeah, well, they have a strong academy, I would say.
Do they have a strong academy?
Well, we don't know because Ange doesn't bring them in.
Well, that's that. Well, then they're not good enough.
But I remember Tom English was on with this a number of months ago, and he said there is a decent crop of young Celtic players that just can't get a chance under Ange. There's a bit of a Mourinho about him in terms of he uses the players that are there. He buys players in from Japan and elsewhere. I don't know if it fits at Spurs. Like, it just, to me, looks like something that's going to go badly wrong within the first 6 months. And I think Ange is a brilliant manager. I just think the Spurs job, I know you say it's a good job. Of course it is. It'll be good money. It's a brilliant stadium and all the rest, and you've a decent team.
They've got like one of the best players in world football in Harry Kane on their team.
Well, he might be gone this summer.
He might be gone, but maybe Ange comes down and goes, "You're the man, and we're going to break all the records, and we're going to win a Champions League here."
He's heard it all before, Kane, hasn't he?
Yeah, but not from somebody credible. Like, I don't know what the conversations were like with Antonio Conte.
Probably thought Conte was credible when he was coming in, but like, if you're Harry Kane this summer, and again Kane dominates the back pages morning after morning this summer, but he has to leave to win a trophy. I don't know what.
Being successful in Scotland, says Shane, doesn't guarantee success in the Premier League, as we've previously seen. Won't last one season if he moves to Spurs. Why wouldn't he go to Spurs? Ambition has never been as low, so less pressure, says John Claffey. Spurs is a basket case, but it's not Chelsea, says Seabrack, and I think he's capable of doing a job there. Big question for me is the squad. Again, here's the thing. If you're Ange and you know the squad, you're like, well, that guy clearly underperforming by about 40%. I'll get that 40% out of him. And suddenly we have players who are more than capable of holding their own in the top 6 in the Premier League. And then all of a sudden it's a good season.
Yeah, that point that John Claffey makes, ambition never been as low at Spurs, so there's less pressure. That maybe that's an argument for the Spurs position. Like, he literally couldn't be worse at the moment. Like, they're not in European football for next season. He does a bad record in Europe anyway, so maybe get them to Europe and then a year later develop them. I don't know.
If Ange does go to Spurs, Jared, like, what do you think he'll be given the time to develop the team in the way that he likes to, and there'll be the patience there? Well, to let him have the time and space.
Yeah, I think there will be. I think there's going to be an acceptance the next time that the manager has to not be a Jose style or a Conte style, and that they're going back to the Pochettino point where they gave him a period of time. Now, if memory serves, he was good out the gate at Spurs, I do think that he has a style of play that will immediately get the Spurs fans on board in a way that some of the managers recently haven't. Check out the goalkeeper from Wolves, who was like, what are we doing here? Why are we signing this guy? So I genuinely do think that there's a good chance that he's successful early. There's no European football for him to worry about, so he plays his best team week in, week out, which means the small squad is not that bad a problem for him. They're not developing young players. Like, I think everybody thinks that, as Wenger said, they've got the prettiest wife, and everybody thinks the kids coming through next, they're the generation that are going to save us and change football. But like, who is brilliant at bringing through young players? Like, give me the world manager who manages a super club at the moment, who's like got a long track record of bringing players into the team who then go on and have 5, 10, 15-year careers. And like, if we're looking at Man City, they've bought all the best young talent in the world and spent the most money on their academy in the world, and so therefore they have Phil Foden. But like, who else has come through into that team?
Yeah, well, like, Arteta's done it. Arteta's brought through young players. Alex Ferguson did it. Like, it can
Arteta
work.
probably needs more time though.
Alex Ferguson is a little bit of an outlier there, Shane.
Yeah, but
a little bit of an outlier.
I'm not saying that Ange needs to, at Celtic, bring through 10 academy players into the first team every season, but blood a few of them in. They're just,
what if they're shite?
Well, then you have
Whose
to
fault is that?
Well, Celtic's fault, obviously.
Exactly. Like, I don't know. So, in one case you're saying he's too good for Spurs, and then on the other you're saying, oh, but look at all these ugly parts to his ability.
Yeah, but he's too, as in the Spurs job and everything off the pitch, like the crap that comes with working with Daniel Levy, it appears is not worth it, surely. I also think this summer going to Spurs when Harry Kane appears to be out the door. Now, the argument for it, and I'm not trying to talk myself into it, but the argument for Ange to Spurs is that he's a great man manager. Look at the state of those Spurs players. Some of them look like they just need a hug, and Ange would give them a hug.
And he'll give them a fist bump, and they'll all be happy, and they'll
exactly
win the Premier League.
Rory Donoghue, what's going on? Celtic manager for Liverpool FC? Seriously? Well, we'll see, Rory. We'll see what the shortlist for.
Brendan Rodgers, anyone? Celtic manager for Liverpool FC?
The next manager at Liverpool is going to be interesting. Conor Joyce says clearly he'll take the Spurs job if it's offered to him because he has a brain, unlike some other people. I don't know who you're talking about here, Conor. Shots fired.